What is up YouTube, it's Kingfisher745, and in this video we're going to begin the Spec Ops 25 task list. Now this Spec Ops task list is actually going to take quite a while, not in that it's difficult, but in that each task does take an incredibly long time. Because of this, I'm often only going to show the last part of the task, and I'll be speeding up many of the fights. Even so, I am going to keep the more impressive encounters intact. So with that being said, of course we begin with task number 1. For this one we have to defeat 10 Maggia Grunts, and they can be found in Mission 1 of Spec Ops 25. Now I'm sure that most of you are past this one and you'll have no problems finding them whatsoever. The only issue may be finding the right amount. Either way, it's going to take multiple battles because I think the most I've ever seen in one was 5. The only other thing that I do want to point out early on is that I'm going to be using 3 runaways for the entirety of Mission 1. Yes, I did become aware that you can use your agent, but I just stuck with all 3 runaways. Because of this, I did very well on my mission score, and now I should have no problem for the rest of Spec Ops. In Mission 2, I think I did end up losing Molly at one point, so I started using my agent after that. But honestly, that was just because I was stalling, trying to use some of my abilities for a later task. Still, if you weren't aware, you can use your agent. You don't have to use 3 runaways. It certainly will make the battles easier and much faster. Now here we have task 1 completed, and so we get 100 experience and we can move on to task number 2. For this one, you have to use the newest Spec Ops character, Stein. He's a team up in many battles, so this won't be a problem. But besides using him in combat, you have to use his X-ray goggles 3 times, and Team Rocket 2 times. Make sure you don't forget the number of times you have to use these abilities, because what I ended up doing was I forgot to use X-ray goggles 3 times. Instead, I believe I used it twice. So I had to go into yet another battle and finish it there. It really didn't set me back at all though, because luckily Chase is used in a number of battles. So that's one good thing about this Spec Ops. Now another thing I want to mention about this task is it's basically repeated with every single runaway. Of course the abilities change, but you're going to have to take them all into combat and use some combination of their abilities to complete a task. That's why, especially for video purposes, this is a very long task list. That plus the fact that I'm trying to finish up so many other videos, including Chapter 8, has set me behind. But trust me, I will catch up. Spec Ops 25 Task List Part 2 won't be far behind, and then I will get caught up with Part 3. In fact, the next video is probably going to be Part 2 or Carolina Dean's Heroic. If I put out that Heroic first, then Part 2 will be soon after. Alright, so one more enemy in this fight, and then we can move on to task number 3. The next task is going to be very short, I can tell you that, and the wording on it is wrong. That's actually going to happen on another task later on. For task 2 we got 100 experience, and now for number 3 it says complete a deploy. However, down at the bottom it says complete any 2 deploys, but I can tell you, and I'm actually going to show you, that you only need to complete 1. Luckily we had 1 ready to collect as soon as we got this task, so all we have to do is open the reward, and now we've already completed this task. Plus we got 5 unstable Iso-8, so that's not too bad. Add in another 200 experience, and now we're off to task number 4. This is going to be another user runaway and their abilities task. This time it's going to be Molly Hayes. So you have to use Molly Hayes in combat, her dropkick 3 times, and her wind-up punch 2 times. This will be very simple if you already have her. You can then use her in any mission, or even in the villain's archive of the simulator. Otherwise, you can find her as a team up in Mission 1. Now we're also going to speed this fight up because we're going to show the boss fight in its entirety, and in that one we're only going to be using the runaways, so we do have a little bit of a challenge. In this fight that we're going through right now though, there is a team up that's very obvious. Victor Mancha and Carolina Dean provide a great synergy with each other. Because of his energy attacks and static charge, he gives her Empyrean energy so fast. It's crazy. Plus, unlike Beta Ray Bill, he is a runaway, so that's an added bonus as well. Hopefully we can win him in the next PvP season, and this will definitely be a team up that we use. As for this speedy battle, we are about finished, so next we move on to task number 5. But first, let's collect our 1000 silver. And now for number 5, we have to defeat Madam Masque. She's the boss of Spec Up 25 Mission 1. As a reward for this one, you're also going to get an Arcane component, which you will need for your research. You can also collect these from boss fights and deploys. So with that, let's go ahead and check out the fight, and the team up for this one is going to be with Carolina Dean. And who might this prismatic young lady be? It's a little early to start a rave. A rave? What is this, the 90s? Somebody call the burn unit. Alright, so for this one we're going to take in Carolina Dean because we have to, Chase Stein, and Molly Hayes. Truthfully, all you need is Molly. We're not messing around. For this one we are taking on Blizzard and Hammerhead, so it can be done. I really didn't think anything of it when I first did it. The only problem I had was with Blizzard. He got extremely annoying. After his turns, Chase was pretty hurt. But then we use Prismatic Shield with Carolina. And after that I'm going to use Team Rocket with Chase Stein. Team Rocket causes pressure points, intimidated, and shell shock to all enemies. Plus he does have Shield Slam because of Carolina. After that I'm going to use Raspberry with Molly, and now she's going to protect and counter with a drop kick. So Hammerhead hits her, he takes his shell shocked, and then she bombs on him with a drop kick. He apparently didn't learn his lesson because he's going to go right back at her, and so she takes him down with the second drop kick. Next up, the assassin's also going to attack, he's protected against, and one hit later he's gone. Blizzard is not going to go so easily. Like I said, he's the biggest pain in this entire fight. Our first dropkick counter is going to hit, but after that he's just going to get harder and harder to land a hit on. Still, with Carolina Dean I'm going to use Beautiful Beam, and then after that I'm going to use Get 'em Old Lace with Chase Stein. I figured we might as well put Flanked on him, plus it has True Strike. So we do hit, and we place our debuff. After that, we're lucky enough to get a Fist of Gon's Boom Boom Pow proc, but we barely land any damage. With our big hitter Molly, we want to save Temper Tantrum for the next round. And unfortunately, we can't hit with the Wind Up Punch or our follow-up dropkick. The good news about Blizzard is he can't avoid fire attacks, and his icing up is removed by fire attacks. So with Chase Stein, we're going to use Fire Starter. That move of course is going to hit, it weakens him, and then we can finish him off with a Boom Boom Pow. So now moving on to the actual boss wave. First, unfortunately, the bad guys started off. I was really hoping that Chase Stein didn't die because that will of course lower my score. Fortunately, they don't go after him right away. So next up with Carolina Dean, I'm going to use her Empyrean Flare, even though it's going to give their Tactician an extra turn. The whole point of this attack was to weaken their team, which I think we did an okay job of. I have to say, it really feels like Boom Boom Pow is going off like crazy. And I actually go ahead and use it on the Hitman as well. I guess the Black Eyed Peas would be pretty proud right about now. But after all of this build up, Molly finally can use Temper Tantrum, and then we're going to throw the Punisher's War Van at the enemies. That move was so nice we'll use it twice. This will of course take out both henchmen, and then we can easily single target attack Madam Masque. So a wind up punch for 27,000 damage ought to do it. We were very fortunate that we didn't lose any runaways, and our final score ends up being 124,000. With that, we've also completed task number 5, and we gained the blueprint for the Arcane Brew. This item is basically a Chrono Accelerator, but with better PvP armory bonuses. Also, we all know what the blueprint means. It's time for our very first research. So task number 6, research the Arcane Brew in the lab. You will need that Arcane component that you just won, and then you can go over to the lab. We're going to do that by clicking on the link, and then once we're there, we see it takes 40 unstable ISO-8, 100 silver, and 8 hours. First though, I'm going to go ahead and research that blaster safeguard suit, and since it's 5 minutes, we can speed it up. Then right after that, we'll start this research, and we'll be back with part 2 very soon. That's going to be the end of part 1, and I would like to thank you all for watching, ask you to please like, comment, and subscribe. And until next time, good luck in Spec Ops 25, and take care.